What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
You know, I have no clue what buffer time is, but we're here to do it. And we're glad that you're here with us on a Sunday again, talking about Discovery. This week, Lagrange Point, the penultimate episode of the series. It should be much better, but we will get into it after we introduce ourselves. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek.
I'm Del, and it's pronounced Lagrange Point.
Okay.
And I'm Primarch Scott of Opinions No One Cares About, coming in with my own fleet to fuck everything up.
Rock on. I don't think there's any news this week.
Holly Hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Holly Hunter is confirmed to be the Chancellor of Starfleet Academy, which I think is awesome.
I'm totally down. Why not?
She looks different, though. Like, I knew I recognized her when I saw her, but it was, like, in the wrong setting, and I realized, like, she's never really done sci-fi before. But she has a real matronly presence, so I think she'll do well as the Chancellor. I'm excited.
Right.
Cool.
Now, do you think she's actually going to be like humanoid or an alien? Has that been?
No, I
don't think anyone said that. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess some sort of humanoid, but we shall see.
Oh, that's true too. The rumor that Terry Metalis is not working for Paramount. So if you think that's going to happen via for Legacy, you're out of luck at this point.
Yeah, I've never thought Legacy was going to be a thing. I only want to know more about Q at the end. That's the only thing I care about. I really do not give a shit about the adventures of the Enterprise G or mainly Picard's son on it.
Can we have a wedding between Seven and Raffi, please?
Can we get a wedding for Saru and Tarina first? Because I'm not even sure we're gonna make it out of this.
It feels
I'm not
like
sure Saru's gonna come back.
It feels like either one of them is gonna die, or like the wedding is gonna be the last scene, sort of like when they're all in the bar where what's his name? Vince Fontaine is singing. And so they have this thing where they're playing the music in the background, and they're all, I think that's going to be Saru and Tarina's wedding.
Well, that would be nice.
Yeah, it'll end up being the very last scene, like the very last episode of The Orville.
And and Detmer will go as a couple, I say.
I mean, I'm still going to be upset if we don't get a wedding between Oo and Detmer, but I mean, I will just take proof of life at this point, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, they flew the Mirror Enterprise off somewhere and, I don't know, hit a black hole or something.
A plot hole.
Speaking of which, that is a great segue to this first question. With everything else going on, does it feel like they're adding filler to this next to last episode? With the whole jumping into not one, but two black holes this week.
Right. I honestly expected that to have a lot more to do with the plot, just not to be like, oh, that's where the key to the progenitor's tech is. Oh, and now the Breen have just shown up and taken it. So we're going to ignore these two black holes that we're very close to, but apparently, just far enough away to be safe, and do all of this stuff off to the side. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that kind of jumps to another question, but I will say one thing I like Saru's uniform. It's like a men's blazer connected to a skirt. It's kind of awesome.
Like a mooring coat, like tails, but a little bit more suited.
But yeah, as far as the black holes, that one I was like, what? We jumped into two black holes. Really? Okay.
And this
show has the history of just putting everything as far over the top and just piling on at the end. But okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, that was the reason the episode was named. I expected him to like figure out a way to like be in there and just, I don't know, somehow it would go from there where they're just perfectly balanced between the two black holes.
Well, it was a bunch of scientists that wouldn't hit it, so maybe they knew exactly where to put it so that you could get it out without getting sucked down.
Mhm.
Into it. Yeah,
Yeah, Norman's got a good point there.
yeah.
Bookend the series. So as far as Saru and Sharina, yeah, I loved seeing them again, and they're setting this
Mhm.
up. But I am also wondering if they're setting up Saru to not come back from this.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I don't think they can end the series with Saru not at least making a cameo. I can't imagine. I mean, he's
Right.
one of like the most memorable aliens on Discovery.
Oh,
Well, I
mean, he's
guess
gonna.
Book, but Book doesn't look like an alien.
No, I'm
Right.
saying that Saru's gonna die. He's not gonna make
Oh,
it.
you think he's not going to make it at
I
all?
don't think he's gonna make it to his own wedding.
Oh,
I hate that.
that would just be
idea.
perfect, wouldn't it?
We have. I was when I was rewatching it this morning. I was telling my partner like
Mhm.
they have too many open romance plots, and this is fucking Star Trek. Like we've got and Detmer making love on the Enterprise in a black hole
Maybe
somewhere.
I
They
guess.
probably are.
There's there's obviously Saru and Book and Burnham. Like, are they going to resolve 3 romance plots in the same ultimate episode of a series, or are they going to focus on the action?
And Adira and Gray, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, it's
possibly.
true.
They're kind of, they're like a will they, won't they kind of thing. They're in the won't they phase, but I feel like there might still be a will they before the end. Though I can't imagine that there's time to pack that.
That's
in.
what I keep thinking
That's-
about. Is just
That's the
isn't.
biggest thing heading into this. Like, I don't feel like they've wrapped up enough. I mean, Disco's had a really
Fair
big
point.
problem, and not just them, but Picard too, of like, all right, well, we're going to mediocrely move along through the middle episodes, and then right at the end, okay, we're going to
Move
pile
along.
it all right at the end, backloaded hard.
well, I think at this time at least, like it made more sense since they were going from clue to clue to clue, rather than just like, okay, we got to figure out, what this thing is and how to get to it and where it's located. And this was like, no, we need to go find out if we should kill the bugs or eat the bugs or let the bugs live. Like, so it gives you a little bit more rooted in episodic Star Trek,
Yeah.
but that's not what I come to Discovery for. As a DS9 fan, I like when it's more serial told. And this, I mean, and let me tell you, this did not feel, this felt very serial, but also the single episodes just felt very different from each other. So I feel like I would rather, and I know I'm not a popular opinion, I would rather be going through the burn shit again. I would rather watch that than this.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Season 3 was the high point for me of Disco, and it's just kind of come down from there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I have a question.
I don't know.
Yeah, go.
Let's go treasure hunt.
Do you think the inside of the Pringles can, as they called it on Trek Central? No, not what?
Yeah.
Culture? Yeah,
Yeah,
they call it the Pringles
them?
can. Does it lead to the White Room of Whiteness?
That was one of the questions I was
Can
going
it
to ask
void?
also. Yeah, is this the Infinity Void that, or does it have something to do with the Infinity Void? Maybe
Like
that-
in a really cheesy, like 1950s sci-fi way. I want it to be David Cronenberg, Doctor.
Of course.
if we
can't
don't
remember his
come
last
back
name.
to Cronenberg and
Cronenberg,
explain
yeah.
some more about the Infinity Room and whether it's tied to this or not, this episode is, or this season is dead to me. I don't think they can possibly pack in all the things they need to at this point,
And
but I hope so.
Or the things we think they need to, anyway.
I
I
still
think they're
have,
connected.
I still have this like kicking in my soul that like it's just not. I don't know what I keep wanting it to be better. I love Discovery, but this season did not cap it off well for me. And maybe that's the reshoots or the rescripting or whatever. And it's had some. There's one episode I gave it 10, so it's not like I'm hating on everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's just these last couple of episodes. I think I would like them more if they weren't Star Trek. Like the whole library
fair.
thing is a cool thing to go through with like maybe a character that you know really well and do that as like a short movie all by itself. I'd be 100% in. You even want to make it Star Trek Library, I'm in. But it just doesn't seem to hit me where my Trek is. I don't know.
I'm liking it better than the previous season. But by the time we got to the end of that season, I was getting into the whole thing with the 10C, and they capped it off pretty good. But really, it's just a disappointment knowing that we're at the end here, and we should get just a little bit more than we've gotten before. And it still seems like the same stale formula where we just pile on, middling episodes in the middle, pile on, resolve.
I am also worried that Burnham will become the Christ.
Oh wow.
Okay, I mean, it's.
Do you
she's
understand
been
what I
said
mean
to-
when I say that?
Yeah. Like she's gonna get the key to. She's gonna get the progenitor's tech, and it's gonna be basically like He-Man-esque. Like, I have the power.
Or it could even be that something would happen akin to what happened to Cisco. Like, well, now you have the progenitor check. You got to live in the Pringles can for the rest of your life.
I'm
You
going to
know?
go another way on that. I think what's going to happen, I think Maul has been the one set up to be a sacrifice. Now, I'm not sure. I was going to ask a question. We can just go into it here, too, about not just Saru, but Burnham almost seems to be set up to maybe not come back from this one. I mean, Rayner wouldn't sit down in the chair all season.
He did.
And now he finally sat down at the end. It's like, oh, well, is that signifying something? And he even designated a first officer, which is unusual. So I'm wondering if she's not coming back, but I think Maul is going to have to sacrifice herself for whatever's in there to maybe try and bring Locke back.
Conspiracy theory.
Please.
Burnham goes in there, becomes the Christ. The first thing she does is res Locke so that Molly and Locke can go off on their happy way together. But then Burnham learns that she's stuck in the Pringle can forever.
Yeah, I
That
don't know quite what's going to happen with Burnham. I mean, she's had plot armor 8 miles thick through the entire series. But I wonder if to reverse that, maybe they'll do something a little more out there than you would think with her at the end.
I like when Grace is Lockio and Molliet.
All right.
That's awesome.
That is not something to aspire to. My gosh. Lasted for 3 days and 6 people died.
See, that's the thing with these episodes. I'm sitting here and I'm like, so this is what happened. I don't know what I think about that.
I got hung up while watching this episode on the way they did it. Because with the entire plan, a certain other franchise might have come to mind. Because you're talking about infiltrating this huge ship, dressing up as enemy soldiers. There's a thermal freaking exhaust port.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you think
okay.
it's only 2
Bruce was
meters wide?
unconsciously doing Star Wars? He was very, very unconscious.
On target? Stay on target?
There were 2 separate times. Like both Adira and Burnham had to bring down a field or something. And I just kept thinking, they will get that shield down. We've got to give them more time. And it didn't even stop there because the scene, I think this episode
Twin Grace.
7.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we did sort of have no forward motion for a while. It was just, we're going to sit and deal with this one thing.
Also, this. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I think
right.
Book and Burnham end up together in some way, even if it's
And
in
he replants the root.
ether or
Yep,
whatever.
plants the world root. Yeah.
I was almost picturing it just being Book and being very sad as he puts the root and does his psychic thing, and the tree starts to grow, and he's all by himself. Like, something about that feels poetry and motion type things.
Harsh, but very true.
I love that it's the Pringles can.
It
Oh,
felt
it's not
weird.
just Pringles.
How long was Locke dead before Maul was like, oh, well, let's preserve him in an Mbanga-style transport buffer?
I think
Really? You're just thinking about this now?
Right?
He's already a shriveled.
He's been
He
lying over
had
there.
to at least lost the fluids by now.
He's just been lying over there on the bridge next to everything else.
Yeah.
We have this huge mystery we have to figure out, and a key to unlock this thing, and oh, there's the dead Primarch.
Who is helping Maul? One of these Breen either like wants to get it in her pants, or I think it doesn't necessarily have to do with Locke being the Scion. I feel like this is someone maybe who also wants to be free and admires Maul for getting Locke out of there or something. Like the last time we were talking about maybe it's none. But at this point, the way it's acting, I think it is a Breen. It's just a Breen who really likes what's going on.
After hearing it one more time, I'm almost certain, at least in not this episode, but the episode before, that it was voiced by David Ajala. So, like, maybe
Really?
there's some kind of time travel going on here, and there's like two books. There's like an older book in a Breen suit guiding her.
Oh,
Wow.
The real one, I don't know quite how it is, or if they just got David Ajala like, hey, you're here, could you do a voice for us right quick? But I'm
But that
90%
ties
sure
up
it was him.
That ties up the book and Maul plot up in a bow. I think it's a really good concept. It's like it goes back to the very beginning, and book is like, we had to make sure we got the progenitor to the right people, and so that he came back and was this, this infiltrated Breen in order to make sure that Maul made the right decisions. See, I also thought maybe it was Locke somehow, and the body is someone else, but I don't get the logic.
Yeah, because whoever it is trying to even just stop her from going into the thing.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I was disappointed by this week's new episode of Doctor Who that also kind of involves time travel somehow. It's not adequately explained, so it's kind of soured me on a loop like that for a little bit. Because it is kind of the same thing. There's a character that like lives a whole life and then comes back as an old person and is influencing themselves. And I'm going to get into details because this isn't that kind of stream.
Okay.
I will point out, though, that the Pringles can, which is apparently a doorway to another dimension, which means it's bigger on the inside, it's clearly a friggin' TARDIS.
Oh, I didn't.
Except now it's a blown-up TARDIS, which by the rules of the show means it should have taken like the universe with it.
Well, it just seems like a portal of some kind to somewhere else, but
But I can see watching both shows together, like within the same time period, making those comparisons.
fair. Does Book and Burnham working through their issues during a critical mission make any sense?
That's kind of that's what the underlying themes of this series. Like, yeah, when that happened, it's like, oh, good, they're dragging the plot to a halt again, so somebody can have an emotional speech. Okay,
And I
sure.
hated how these shots were set up with just the head with the little weird, like, fake Elcars on the side.
You
And,
know
like,
why?
when they move their head, it, like, the stuff doesn't move with them, and that gave me this weird sense of, like, feeling dizzy.
Oh, okay. I thought it was, yeah, it was okay. I don't hate it, but I don't love it
Also,
either.
how did the UT know when they wanted to speak green or whisper in English?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
I have
Yeah.
so many problems with universal translators, and this one was just super obvious. Like it knew when they were talking to the ship, when they were
Mhm.
talking to each other, and when they wanted
Yep.
to speak in green.
Exactly. And that seems to be a running thing with all the comms because Rayner would like go back and forth between talking to Maul and talking to Burnham, and it's like this communicator can distinguish between that in like a split second.
They got
Speaking of which,
three-way. They
I
got
really,
three-way calling.
I finally like Rayner. It took
Yeah,
9 episodes, and I don't love him. Like by the time Shaw died in Picard, I actually liked the dude. I felt bad for him. Rayner, like, he's still kind of a bag of dicks, but he's out of the
They're smaller
doghouse for me.
dicks. They're smaller
It's one
dicks.
of the
Smaller dicks, a bag
it's
of
one
much
of the
smaller
reasons
dicks.
I don't think that Burnham is meant to survive. I think even before they knew they were canceled, they needed to have a backup captain. And Saru is now off being a diplomat. And so I think hiring from the outside, because other than like Reese, I can't imagine who else on the bridge would get promoted to first officer or even to captain. So I can see them setting themselves up for a new captain. And in a way, this is good because we don't like him. And I wouldn't want to watch a show where he was a captain of a ship.
No, I wouldn't want to watch.
So that
even
makes
a
it good
season.
for them to go off into the bye-bye.
Is it too much to hope that the final season that they find in the Infinity Room, Prime Universe Lorca?
Ooh.
Well, that's where he's been.
I think that would be fun somehow.
He walks into the wedding and just takes a seat. And he walks in with Giorgio. And they just take seats in the back. And they're not wearing uniforms. And they're like, I'm glad we could make it. The other one's like, I know.
Giorgio comes in because no one's going to stop her. And he's like, he's my +1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't expect Michelle Yeoh here
No.
at all. So, do you think that Rayner making Tilly his first officer is a redemption for her for the last time she was first officer on Disco?
Is she a lieutenant
What
yet?
happened?
Yeah, she's a lieutenant.
Okay. Like, is she still lieutenant junior grade or is she a lieutenant?
That's a good question.
I think
I'm
that
not
was
sure.
by this point.
Because she does seem like she kind of jumped in rank. I mean, luckily she's not Harry Kim, who I think kind of where Adira is at right now.
Ooh,
It's sort of like
harsh.
maybe going down the Harry Kim path. But I don't remember her getting enough advancement to where she would be at least qualified to be the XO.
Yeah, I mean, even the other last time we saw her in command of a ship and some people, that also ended badly. I mean, I
Yeah.
love Tilly, don't get me wrong. She was my favorite character for the first couple of seasons. I still have a soft spot for her, even if I think the writers have done her a little more dirty here in the last couple seasons. I'm glad that they're giving her a chance to maybe redeem herself here, but she has to actually do something in the next episode to redeem herself.
Not just say, hey, you're not captaining right, captain better. That was like the one
Yes.
thing, the one like insightful thing she said was, do this better.
No, she's a lieutenant. She's been called lieutenant. I'm just not
Okay.
sure if she's junior grade or full. I would actually maybe assume full because she got to be good friends with Admiral Vance last season and like, you know, part of that. I'd be really surprised if she didn't get some extra promotion out of that.
Norman, I would add to that lovely little background scene. Sorry. To have Spock walk in, which maybe even Leonard Cohen, not Leonard Cohen. You guys know who I mean. The guy
Okay.
who plays Spock, and my brain is broken.
Leonard Nimoy?
Yes, Leonard Nimoy. Sorry. So it'd be Leonard Nimoy and no, it would be their wedding. Anyway, yeah, all these weird characters that we have no idea where they went. Like the president of the of the Earth
Oh,
army.
yeah.
Like, where did she go? What happened with her?
Really?
Like, just having
No,
all of them show up in the background of the wedding somehow. Like, all these characters that we've lost, or we don't know where they are, or we haven't seen them in forever.
Well, speaking of characters that we haven't seen, I was really glad to finally see
Rillick.
Rillick back this season because she was
Yeah.
pretty much the only thing holding season 4 together for me.
Yeah.
And now it's only her second quick appearance, but love seeing her back. Yeah, we talked about that. Is the portal somehow connected to Kovich and the Infinity Room? I think so, somehow. I don't think they're one and the same, but I think they're connected.
Or Q could be there.
Right.
Could you imagine if the answer to the progenitor's tech is the Q continuum?
I actually
Weird.
can't because I can't see them doing anything that proactive as, like, to do something benevolent for the galaxy or whatever.
Maybe old I have to hug him one more time Q. Not necessarily Q from, like, introducing the board Q.
More like Q right at the end of Picard Q.
That's what I meant. Yeah, sad old dying Q.
Dying, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. We've basically hit all of the points. I had more questions this week than most weeks, and just we have torn through this stuff. There's just not much to this episode, so I'm
There
opening
really
the
isn't.
floor here. I'm also happy to do out of tens and call this a half-hour episode
I'm in.
because I think next week
Yeah,
is going to be
I mean-
much more interesting.
Yeah, I think we're going to go long next week, so we can just buy it by being short today.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm at a 5.5 here. It's serviceable. It moves the season plot along, great. But for a Jonathan Frakes directed episode, which I mean the bar is set pretty friggin' high there, and a penultimate series episode, it's just not there for me. It does what it needs to do.
Fair.
I am going to rate it like fast food. Fast food is like a 5. You can eat it and it will, and you will be satisfied, but you're going to regret it later. Like, I'm so worried the next episode is going to not do what I want or need it to do, that this episode makes me almost like,
3.
well, I'm getting ready to be disappointed. But, like, nothing really big happened, except for they got inside the Pringles can. So, 5.
Yeah, I cannot do better than a 5 here. It's like everything you've been saying. Yeah, it's perfectly serviceable, and it's got us to the final episode, and which is undoubtedly going to be better because I honestly do not think it can be worse. But it's the way they got there by cribbing from so much stuff between just this episode is just not just so Star Wars-esque, and yeah, at the end they're gonna like go in the TARDIS, and that whole thing you're saying, like the shot from the inside of our helmets, I'm like, yeah, I've seen Iron Man, we know, and yeah, I mean it's a pretty high bar for a Frakes episode, so you kind of expect a little more originality.
Hold on, I'm working on that average.
What's the one for Tanya?
Did I not get it right?
Gannon,
didn't.
I think that kind of sums
Gannon's
up
been here
how I
long.
feel.
What do you say?
He said this season is ass.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I have a soft spot for Treasure Hunt, so
Yeah, don't
I didn't think
hate
it was that bad, and I will probably remember it more than other seasons. But then I'm going to remember, this is the same season that had Face the Strange in it, and then I'm just like, I just don't know
Yeah,
what
I
to.
know.
That was a good episode.
It was really good.
That one
But-
really felt like it called back to the one with Chakotay in the last season of Voyager, too, where he had to jump around
Yeah.
a bunch.
Ta-da.
there's that. Sort of.
7. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Just waiting for a camera to correct
I think
shit.
if I were to go back and watch this series within the next 6 months, this season, I'd probably just go watch Face the Strange and the finale and be done with it.
That is a 5.17.
Woof,
Nice.
woof.
Not encouraging. I mean, I've been a defender of disco through all of the stupidity, and I mean, granted, none of us, even when we don't like disco, are like, "Oh, Burnham cries," and
Right?
you can't be emotional
no cry.
for the stupid reasons that you
There's
see
no
on
crying in starships.
every comment section. But yeah, it does have legitimate problems, and they've got one chance. They have literally one chance to turn this thing around. So hopefully next week we're talking about this for much longer, with a lot more to go on. A thing we might do after that we tested out a little bit. I found a Star Trek Scene It DVD game. So after Disco runs its course, we're gonna try doing that here. So, Scott, Del, thank you guys for showing up here on this beautiful day for a very short, mediocre episode, and for all of you that tuned in.
Yeah,
So,
we really appreciate like Norman and
Oh my
Gwen
gosh.
Grace, and I think the other one's named Tanya.
Tanya,
Yeah, you guys make the show for us, so you are as much a part of this as we are.
That's right.
indeed. Thank you, everybody. And we'll be back next week to talk the long end of disco. So until then,